The Christmas that felt different. You ever have one of those Christmas days where everything just feels quiet? Like everyone else is busy, posting pictures, drinking hot chocolate, and you're just there staring at the ceiling, wondering if you're the only one without plans. That was me. My house was so quiet, I could hear my neighbor's footsteps through the wall. And I thought, you know what? I can't spend Christmas like this again. So I grabbed my jacket, stepped outside, and the cold air hit me like a slap. But something felt different. The lights looked brighter. The street felt warmer. I don't know why, but in that moment, I felt like something unexpected was about to happen. Now the unexpected meeting. So, I'm walking, minding my business, trying not to sleep on the highs and embarrass myself. And then, I bump into someone. Not a small bump. No! A full collision! My soul almost left my body before I could even apologize. They said, "Bro, you hit me like a Roblox rag doll." I tried to play it cool, brushing my jacket like, yeah, I'm fine. The floor just wanted to fight today. They laughed, and suddenly, the cold didn't feel so cold anymore. We started walking in the same direction, talking about Christmas stuff, the lights, the food, how everyone pretends to be nice in December. And weirdly, it felt natural, like we were supposed to meet. We kept talking, and honestly, I expected it to get awkward. But nope, we just kept talking like we'd known each other for years. At one point, they pointed at a house covered in lights and said, "That house is trying way too hard. It's begging for attention." I laughed so hard, it all crossed. The street started backing at me. They told me their Christmas is always loud. Too much noise, too much presents, too much chaos. Meanwhile, mine is the direct and exact opposite. So quiet you can hear your charger breathing. And for a moment, we stopped talking. Not awkward silence. Peaceful silence. Then they said, "This is actually the nicest part of my day." And that touched me more than I expected. This is where everything went wrong. My phone rang. Normally fine, but my ringtone, oh God! It was that loud, dramatic church drum beats. Peaceful Christmas scene. And then, ta 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 ta, Jesus is Lord. I panicked. They looked at me like, "Are you fighting demons?" I tried to lie and said, "Oh, ha, that's my alarm for water." Water? I don't know why I said that. Then while trying to stop the ringtone, I slipped on the snow. Full curtain fall again. They tried to catch me, but slipped too. We both felt like two broken Roblox characters. And then, silence. Cold, awkward silence. And I thought, great, I ruined everything. We were both on the ground, snow everywhere, my dignity nowhere. Then they started laughing. Not small laughter. Real laughter, I mean. And I started laughing too. We looked ridiculous, but it felt good. They brushed snow off and said, "Bro, that fall had the old plot twist." I kept apologizing, but they said, "Relax, I needed that laugh." And somehow, hearing that meant everything. We continued working slower this time. And they said, "You made my Christmas less boring. You're different." I didn't know what to say. I just smiled. And for the first time in a long time, Christmas felt warm again. We reached the end of the street. The lights were fading and the air was getting colder. And the moment felt like it was ending. I didn't want it to, but I didn't know how to say that. Then they stopped walking. I turned around confused. And they said, "Same time tomorrow." My brain stopped working for a moment. I just nodded. They smiled, walked away and disappeared into the Christmas lights. And me, I stood there replaying everything like a movie. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, But this Christmas, it's not over, but to be continued. I barely slept that night. Not because of noise, not because of excitement, but because my mind wouldn't shut up. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept replaying yesterday. The walk, the laughter, the fall that took my dignity and never gave it back. And the one sentence, same time, tomorrow. I checked my phone, no message. I tried again, still nothing. And that's when the overthinking started. If they were just being nice, what if they forgot? What if yesterday was just a random moment? And today, I'm back to being alone. Christmas morning came quietly. No loud celebrations, no big excitement, just soft light through the window and the sound of distant laughter outside. I sat on my bed, staring at the wall, telling myself, don't expect anything. Because expectations, they hurt the most. But still, I got dressed. Not because I was sure something would happen, but because a small part of me hoped it would. I stepped outside again, same street, same cold air, same Christmas lights that refused to come down. And as I walked, my heart started beating faster. Because from a distance, I saw someone standing there, hands in their pockets, looking around like they were waiting for something or someone. In that moment, I realized something dangerous. I cared. Because I was so scared. Way more than I was ready to admit. I didn't say anything at first. I just slowed my steps, pretending I wasn't sure it was them. But then they turned around and yeah, it was them! Mine! Same jackets, same calm energy, same look like they didn't rush anything in life. They smiled when they saw me. Not a big smile, not dramatic, just real. And someone that felt better. They said, I was starting to think you wouldn't come. I laughed softly and said, I almost didn't. Overthinking tried to win today. They nodded like they understood that feeling a little too well. We started walking again, same directions as yesterday, same streets. But the conversations felt different this time, slower and deeper. Less jokes, more honesty. At one point, they asked, what do you usually do after Christmas? I thought about it. And for the first time, I didn't try to make my answer sound interesting. I said, honestly, I just wait for life to start again. They stopped walking, looked at me and said, that's exactly how I feel. We stood there for a moment, no awkwardness, no pressure, just two people realizing they weren't alone now they felt. We talked about simple things, how time moves weird for holidays, how days feels empty when there's nothing planned, how everyone pretends to be okay even when they're not. And I noticed something. They listened, not the waiting for their turn to talk kind of listening. Real listening here. The kind that makes you talk more than you plan to. I told them how often I feel like life is happening somewhere else, and I'm just watching from a distance. They said, maybe life is slower than we think. Maybe we're not late. That line stayed with me. We kept walking. The Christmas lights above us flickered softly, like they were tired too. At some point, we sat down on a quiet bench. No phones, no rush, just cold air and honest conversation. And I realized something important. This wasn't about romance. It was about connection. The kind you don't force. The kind that just happens. And for the first time in a long while, I was thinking about what comes next. I was just present. I stayed on that bench longer than I expected. Not because we had nowhere else to go, but because neither of us felt like moving. The cold didn't bother me anymore, or maybe I just stopped noticing it. After a while, they spoke again, softer this time. Can I tell you something? I nodded, why not? And the way they took a small breath before talking. I knew it wasn't going to be a joke, they said. I don't usually open up to people. I smiled and I replied, same. I'm usually the laugh it off type. They looked at the ground for a moment, then said, I think people get tired of me because I disappear sometimes. That caught me off guard. They explained how sometimes they pull away, not because they don't care, but because caring feels heavy, like you don't want to be a burden. As they talked, I realized how familiar that sounded, so I shared my own truth. I told them how often I feel like I'm behind in life, like everyone else got a head start and I missed the signal. How I smile lots, joke a lot, but go quiet when I'm alone. They didn't interrupt. They didn't try to fix me. They just listened. And then they said something I didn't expect. You don't seem behind. You just seem like someone who feels deeply. That sentence hit me harder than anything else that day. We sat in silence again, but the silence felt different. It felt safe. At some point, they laughed softly and said, it's funny how you can walk past hundreds of people every day, but only feel seen by one. I nodded, because that was exactly it. The lights above us flickered. Somewhere in the distance, someone was laughing. Life kept moving, but in that moment it felt like time slowed down just for us. I don't know how long we stayed there. Minutes felt like seconds. Seconds felt like nothing and nothing at all. Eventually, they stood up and stretched, saying, we should probably walk before we freeze. I laughed and agreed. As we walked again, I noticed something strange. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't overthinking every word. I wasn't trying to impress. I was just myself. And for once, that felt like